Hello everyone. In this video, we will be discussing some MCQ type questions from the Madhava Mathematics Competition January 2019. A little bit about the Madhava Mathematics Competition. This is a national level competition for undergraduate students, which is jointly organized by SP College Pune and Homi Bhabha Center for Science Education. This is the 13th year of this particular competition, and the competition is spread across 23 regions where you can apply. More details can be found on the website, which is www.madhavacompetition.in. I hope you all register for the competition. In this video, you will get a fair bit of idea as to the questions and the nature of the competition as well. So once again, I wish everyone all the best, those of you who have already registered, and to others, I hope you all register for the competition as well. Like I said, in this video, we will be discussing part 1 questions, that is MCQ type questions. Part 1 has 20 marks, 2 marks questions each. The way to use this particular video, I would recommend you see the question, pause the video, try to work out the solution on your own, and then you can resume the video to check out the correct solution. So without further ado, let us begin with our first question. So this is the first question. We have to find out values for k for which the line y equal to kx intersects the parabola y equal to x minus 1 the whole square. Now here we have to find the points of intersection per se. We have to find the lines. We have to find value for k for which the line and the parabola are intersecting. So the general idea would be equating the two expressions, that is kx, we equate it to x minus 1 the whole square. So if we expand the right hand side, we will get a quadratic equation of this kind, that is x squared minus k plus 2x plus 1 equal to 0. Now this is a quadratic equation with a positive discriminant, right? So discriminant is positive. What is the discriminant? B squared minus 4ac whenever the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c, right? So here b is minus k plus 2, so k plus 2 the whole square, minus 4ac, a and c both are 1 over here, so k plus 2 the whole squared minus 4, that turns out to be equal to k into k plus 4. We need it to be bigger than or equal to 4. So that situation would occur when k is bigger than or equal to 0 or k is less than or equal to minus 4. So we can observe which answer is the correct one. Clearly, the answer is option C. So I hope you have got the same answer as well. Let us move ahead with the second question. So this is a different kind of a question. We have the set M2, Z2. This is the set of all 2 by 2 matrices with entries from Z2. What is Z2? It is the integers modulo 2. And there is a function defined from M2, Z2 to M2, Z2, which is the function fx equal to x squared. And we have to check whether the given function is injective, surjective, bijective, and so on. Right? Now, first fact to note over here is what is the set Z2. So Z2 is the set of all integers modulo 2, that is, it is comprising of 0 bar 1 bar, also written as you can see as 0 and 1. So this is a finite set. Clearly, if this is a finite set, M2 Z2 is also going to be a finite set, right? Also, the function f is from M2 Z2 to M2 Z2, where M2 Z2 is a finite set. So injectivity and surjectivity, they are quite related in this case, right? So if we check just the injectivity of this particular function, some facts about surjectivity will automatically get clear, right? So in order to check the injectivity, the best way to do so is check the pre-image of the element 0, right? So we observe in this case that if I look at the element 1, 1, 1, 1 and take f of 1, 1, 1, 1, that would be 1, 1, 1, 1 the whole square. But this product that we are taking, that product of two matrices is in M2 Z2, right? So this product turns out to be 0 matrix in M2 Z2. So 0, 0, 0, 0 is, or the 0 element is not the only element which is mapped to 0. So clearly the map is not injective. Since the map is not injective, the map is also not surjective, because the map is from M2Z2 to M2Z2. Both are same and has finite number of elements. So clearly what would be the answer? What should be the answer? The answer should be D, which is the map is neither an injective map nor a surjective map. So as you can see, this is a really nice problem that we have here. Then moving ahead with question number 3. Now this is a problem from analysis. We have a sequence of the kind 4, 0, 4.10, 4.110, and so on. Something about convergence, boundedness, etc. has been asked about this question, right? So what we will do over here at this point, we will try to actually write down the sequence. So we can see over here, we can observe that all the even elements, even terms of the sequence, they are 0, right? So we have a to n is equal to 0 for all n, right? So let's see if we can eliminate any one of the options from here. Yes, clearly a to n is a convergent sequence, convergent subsequence rather. So clearly option B must be a false option. Now this is odd, this is even sequence. Now let us see what would be the odd sequence. Now for odd sequence, let us check what are the terms one by one. What is A1? A1 is 4. A3 is 4.1, that is 4 plus 0.1. Now what is 0.1? That is 1 by 10. So that is 4 plus 1 by 10. What is A5? 4 plus 1 by 10 plus 1 by 10 squared, and so on and so forth. So we observe that a to n plus 1 is in fact 4 plus summation of 1 over 10 to the power k, where k runs from 1 to n, right? Now fact to observe once again over here is this sequence is an increasing sequence of real numbers, and therefore it is, you can also observe that it is bounded above by 5, right? So this is an increasing sequence which is bounded above, so it has to converge to its supremum. Now what should be the supremum? So supremum is nothing but 4 plus summation n goes from 1 to infinity, 1 by 10 to the power n, which comes out to 4 integer 1 by 9. So again, fact to note, again we'll try to see whether we can eliminate any option. So the option that can be eliminated is option C can be eliminated, because 0 is a bounded sequence and this sequence is also bounded. So overall the sequence is bounded. So option C is also incorrect. And we also observe that odd sequence converges to 4 integer 1 by 9, whereas even sequence converges to 0. So overall sequence is not convergent, right? So option A is also incorrect. So which is the only option that remains? That is answer is option D. So what is our option D? Option D is the sequence is not convergent and it has the supremum 4 integer 1 by 9. Let us ahead. Again, this is a question of calculus. We have a function given here. Fx is x minus 2, mod of x minus 2, x minus 3. And something about differentiability is asked. Since the modulus function is involved here, the trick or the method to go by is you check whether the left hand derivatives and right hand derivatives are equal or not. Because when you show that the mod x function is not differentiable at 0, that's the way you go, right? You check whether left hand and right hand derivatives are equal, right? Similarly here, we check for the point x equal to 2, right? So if you input the values over here, so fx is x minus 2, mod x minus 2, mod x minus 3, and f of 2 is 0. So that if x minus 2 factor cancels out with this x minus 2 here, and the limit becomes 0. Same while computing the left hand limit also. So both left hand derivative, right hand derivative are equal. So function becomes differentiable at the point x equal to 2. But in the case of x minus 3, there is no factor which cancels out, right? So x minus 3 remains, and this works like the modulo function. The right hand limit turns out to be 1, whereas the left hand limit turns out to be minus 1. You can check this by yourself as well by putting in the value of the function. So what is our answer? The function is differentiable at 2, but it is not differentiable at 3. So which option is that? That is option A. So answer is option A here. Now this is question 5, which is on complex number system. We have equation z square plus z bar square equal to 2. And we have to check what this represents, whether it represents parabola, hyperbola, pair of lines, ellipse, and so on. Now, since these are complex numbers, we will just put the value of z to be x plus iy and z bar to be x minus iy. The reason being, we know what are the equations of parabola, hyperbola, pair of lines, ellipse, etc. in terms of x and y, right? So we go by that way. We substitute the value of z as x plus iy and z bar as x minus iy. That's the conjugate. And therefore, the equation is as follows. If we solve this expression, I want you to try, we will get an equation of this kind, x squared minus y squared equal to 1. Now, we all know that this expression represents a hyperbola, right? So, the answer to this particular question is option C. Right? So this is an easy kind of a question. I hope you all got the same answer as well. Yeah. So this is a question from differential equations. So differential equation of family of parabolas having their vertices at the origin and their foci on the x-axis is. So here we have to find out what the differential equation is going to be. For doing so, we have to find out what the equation of this family of parabolas is going to be. Based on that, we can differentiate. We can find, once we find out the equation, we will differentiate and see what the expression will be like. So what are the key things about this family of parabolas given to us? It is given that the vertex of this family of parabolas is origin, and the focus of each of these parabolas in the family is on the x-axis, right? So what is the general format of this family of parabolas? What is our key observation? Our key observation that family of parabolas is of the form y squared equal to sum a times x, right? So now we have got our expression for the family of parabolas. Now all we have to do is differentiate. So once we differentiate, we get 2y dy by dx is a. Then you multiply on both sides by x, then you get 2xy dy equal to ax dx. Substitute ax to be equal to y squared. Eliminate out y squared, and we get the answer to be option A. Right? So again, this is an relatively easier question. The key observation was the important part for getting the solution of this particular question. Moving ahead. Yeah. So this is a slightly different kind of a question. You have to find out the number of solutions of this equation under square root of 1 minus sin x equal to cos x. You have to find the number of solutions in the interval 0 to 5 pi, right? Now this is an easier question, but in the flow of eliminating the options, you may be in trouble. So let us see the solution of this particular question. Let's see how we work it out. So what is the natural thing to do? Natural thing is taking squares on both sides. So we get 1 minus sin x equal to 1 minus sin squared x. So I'm just putting in the value of cos square x. Once I'm squaring on both sides, I'm just putting in the value of cos squared x, and I'm writing it as 1 minus sin squared x. So I'm getting a quadratic equation in sin x. So I'm getting sin squared x minus sin x is 0. Pull out the sin x common. I'll get sin x equal to 0 or sin x equal to 1. Make the cases. If sin x equal to 0 in 0 to 5 pi, what are the possible values of x? It can be 0, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, and 5 pi. Whereas when sin x is equal to 1 in 0 to 5 pi, it implies that x has possibly the values pi by 2, 5 pi by 2, 7 pi by 2. But now here is the trick involved. So it may happen that you count all the number of solutions and you may end up getting a wrong answer. Here you have to consider this scenario. The positive square root of 1 minus sin x is equal to cos x. So the value of cos x cannot be negative because there is a positive square root on the other side. So we will eliminate out, we will observe that the left hand side and right hand side of this equation that we get, when x is equal to pi, 3 pi and 5 pi, so I'm getting a negative value of cos x here. So we need to eliminate out those cases because it is not working for our equation, right? So if we eliminate out these three values, the total number of solutions we get is 6. So answer is therefore B. I hope this question is crystal clear to all of you. Moving ahead with the next question, that is question number 8. Yeah. Now, once again, this is a different kind of a question. You have a triangle ABC. On the segment AB, we take 3 points. On the segment BC, we take 4 points. On the segment CA, we take 5 points, such that none of these points are the vertices. So we are taking points in between on the segment which are apart from the vertices of the triangle ABC. The number of triangles that can be constructed using these points is. So this is a question on combinatorics really, right? So we will try to reduce down our problem. So first thing first, we will try to take how many choices are there for taking 3 points on AB, 4 points on BC and 5 points on CA, for example, right? So in what different ways can we form the triangles? We are going to count that. First thing, suppose we select a point each on AB, BC and CA. In how many ways can we do that? AB has 3 choices, on BC we have 4 choices, and on CA we have 5 choices. So the total number of such triangles will be 3 into 4 into 5, which is 60. So once this is done, we go ahead and then we choose 1 point on AB and 2 on either BC or CA. Okay, so we choose 1 point on AB after that and 2 points on either BC and CA. So in how many ways can we do that? The 1 point on AB, there are 3 points, so that is 3 multiplied by, on BC there are 4 points, out of which we have to choose 2 points, so that can be done in 4 choose 2 ways, plus there are 5 points on CA, out of that we pick 2 points, so that can be done in 5C 2 ways. Similarly, here we are choosing 1 point on AB. In the same way, if we are choosing 1 point on BC and 2 on either of AB and CA, again we get the same way, 4 total points on BC, 2 points on AB, so 3 out of 3 choose 2, and 2 points from CA, 5C, 5 choose 2. Same way, by choosing 1 point on AC, that is total 5 points, multiplied by 2 on AB will give us 3 choose 2, and 4 on BC will give us 5 choose 2. So if we work out the total number of triangles, that will turn out to be 205. Okay, I want you to try this and see that the total comes out to be 205. Right? So which is that option? That option is answer. Option is B. So this is a different question. I hope the question is clear to all of you. Moving on. Yeah. So this is a question, one can say, from number theory. We have to find the number of primes P such that P, P plus 10 and P plus 14, they are all prime numbers. Okay, so let us try to work out some examples and see if we can eliminate out such options, right? So for example, let us take 2, P equal to 2, 2 is a prime. 2 plus 10, is 2 plus 10 a prime number? No, it is not, right? So 2 plus 10 is 12, which is definitely not a prime number. So 2 is clearly not one of these primes. So let us take P equal to 3. So if we take P equal to 3, we get 3, 3 plus 10, that is 13, and 3 plus 14, that is 17. Yes, so 3 is working. So clearly we can eliminate out option A. Okay, so now once we have got one prime at least, we can check how many primes are there based on from the case that P equal to 3 is a prime number, or P equal to 3 is a prime number works for this scenario, right? So if P is equal to 3, we know that, as I said, 3, 13 and 17, they are all primes. Now if we take a look at any integer, we know that by division algorithm, any integer is of the form 3k, 3k plus 1, 3k plus 2 for some integer k. So clearly 3k cannot be a prime number, but 3k plus 1 and 3k plus 2 can be a prime number, right? So let's see if 3k plus 1 is a prime number. Will the three numbers can be a solution? Will 3k plus 1 be a solution to this particular problem, right? So if p is equal to 3k, let us see what happens to p plus 14. P plus 14 will be 3k plus 1 plus 14. That would be 3k plus 15, which is 3 into k plus 5. So clearly this is not a prime number. And again, if I take p equal to 3k plus 2, then p plus 10 will be 3k plus 2 plus 10, which will be 3k plus 12. That is 3 into k plus 4. So again, this is not a prime. So in either case, 3k plus 1 and 3k plus 2 will not be a solution. What does that mean? It means this 3k plus 1, 3k plus 2 is not working for any integer k, right? That means p equal to 3 is the only solution where p plus 10 and p plus 14 are all prime, right? So what is the number of primes? P equal to 3 is the only solution. So your correct option is option B. That is p equal to 3. It's the only solution. Let's move ahead with the last problem. Question number 10. Now, since we have done 9 problems now, I would like you all to try this. I will definitely give a hint for this, and I will also tell you the solution. But I would like you all to try, right? So this is a standard discrete maths question, uh, can be solved even by first year students. So the question is, a relation is given to you and we have to check whether the relation is reflexive, symmetric and transitive. Here nothing is to be done, we just have to check the definition. So we have to check whether x and y are whether the relation is reflexive. So what do you mean by reflexive? X is related to x implies it is reflexive. So you can just check from here, 2x plus x, check whether it is less than or equal to 5, right? If that is true, then you can say that the relation is reflexive. Then you check symmetric, that is x related to y, does that imply y is also related to x, right? And then you check whether the relation is transitive, that is x related to y, y related to x implies x is related to x related to y, y related to z, does it imply that x is related to z? So this last problem we will leave exercise. Of course, the solution to all of these problems, they are available on the website that was displayed earlier. So you can check the problems from there also. And I hope you all do register for this competition, and all the best to all of you. Thank you very much.